Good morning and welcome to the Sunday History Rewind. I'm your host, Jim Lumley. Last week we talked about the history of the Democrat Party. This week we're going to do the same for the Republican Party. The GOP, the Grand Old Party, was founded in the year 1854, and they've elected 19 presidents to the White House. The express purpose of the Republican Party was the opposition of slavery. In fact, at first was founded to oppose the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which expanded slavery to new territories. And the Republicans' first candidate was Abraham Lincoln from Kentucky, who used to be a member of the Whig Party. Today on the Sunday History Rewind, we're going to harken back and show you some videos from some of the past Republican conventions. So enjoy as we take a look back into GOP history today on the Sunday History Rewind.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take pride in presenting a thoughtful address by Ronald Reagan. Mr. Reagan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have spent most of my life as a Democrat. I recently have seen fit to follow another course. I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. So government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards. How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant? They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury, and they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. In Chico County, Arkansas, James Weir overplanted his rice allotment. The government obtained a $17,000 judgment, and a U.S. Marshal sold his 960-acre farm at auction. The government said it was necessary as a warning to others to make the system work. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. You and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny. Thank you very much.
My fellow citizens of this great nation, with a deep awareness of the responsibility conferred by your trust, I accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States. Together, let us make this a new beginning. Let us make a commitment to care for the needy, to teach our children the virtues handed down to us by our families, to have the courage to defend those values and virtues and the willingness to sacrifice for them. Let us pledge to restore in our time the American spirit of voluntary service, of cooperation, of private and community initiative, a spirit that flows like a deep and mighty river through the history of our nation. As your nominee, I pledge to you to restore to the federal government the capacity to do the people's work without dominating their lives. I pledge to you a government that will not only work well, but wisely. Its ability to act tempered by prudence, and its willingness to do good, balanced by the knowledge that government is never more dangerous than when our desire to have it help us blinds us to its great power to harm us. I have thought of something that's not a part of my speech and worried over whether I should do it. Can we doubt that only a divine providence placed this land, this island of freedom, here as a refuge for all those people in the world who yearn to breathe free? I'll confess that I've been a little afraid to suggest what I'm going to suggest. I'm more afraid not to. Can we begin our crusade, join together in a moment of silent prayer? God bless America. Thank you.
Well, the time has come. You've seen the map. We've looked at the figures, and NBC News now makes its projection for the presidency. Reagan is our projected winner. Ronald Wilson Reagan of California, a sports announcer, a film actor, a governor of California, is our projected winner at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. On this election night, we have projected Ronald Reagan the winner.
That is some group of people, thousands.
The waiting will aggravate you. The calling it early and making a mistake will bury you. And here we go.
We are going to make this decision now. The Fox News decision desk has called Pennsylvania, for Donald Trump, this means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States, winning the most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen. This candidacy starting on an escalator ride 1 year ago and going down against 16 Republican candidates. What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
And distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency. The business tycoon and TV personality capping his improbable political journey with an astounding upset victory. Donald J. Trump will become the 45th president of the United States, defeating Hillary Clinton in a campaign unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime.
We've moved so far away from the Constitution that in many ways we don't even recognize it. We think that we're becoming more advanced by abandoning the Constitution and adopting something like an administrative state. But what we're in fact doing is becoming more primitive. We are regressing.
The founders were trying to create a regime of liberty, which would be the greatest possible private scope of freedom, while at the same time being based upon the basic moral principles of the natural law and natural rights.
Your rights of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. These are rights that you have because you are a human being. They're not rights that you have because government decides to give them to you. The idea then for just government, and the only reason you would consent to government, is because government secures those rights.
The people who make the laws are people too. How do we know they won't make them in their own interest? You need a constitution, and it needs to be in control of the governed.
Almost everybody in America, even people with very different perspectives, senses there's something deeply wrong with our political life. Recovery of the earlier constitutional understanding, I believe it's useful to help guide us, but at the very least, we have to understand it in order to know what relation should we have to that today.
The Constitution is in the service of a larger set of principles, and that when we abandon those principles, not only do we have a different understanding of rights, but we also abandon constitutionalism. I'm Kevin Porteous.
I'm Thomas West.
I'm R.J. Pastrito.
I'm John Grant.
This is Constitution 101. Let's begin.